This is Boomer Life on CL 650.
Home, where my thoughts escaping. Home, where my music's playing. Home, where my love lies waiting silently.
I was going to sing the end of the lyrics, but really, you didn't want me to sing. We are back. This is Boomer Life on CL 650. I'm Joanne Sutton. And joining us in the studio today from the BC Seniors Living Association, our Executive Director, Marlene Williams, along with Lydia Miller, a BCSLA assessor. Tom Bayliss has joined us today, also a BC Seniors Living Association assessor, and Michelle Cunnington, General Manager from Cavell Gardens in Vancouver. And we're talking about the main functions and visions of the BC Seniors Living Association, what they do and how they can help you in your senior years, whether you're there yet or simply on your way, like some of us in this room. And Marlene, I just wanted to continue the conversation about the seal of approval that has been initiated by BC Seniors Living Association. And it's a program that's offered and marketed to all of the properties available in the province, correct?
Yes, it is.
Okay, I'm on the right track. So with this seal of approval for seniors properties, is this kind of like a STAR program for hotels? I'm trying to find something to compare it to in layman's terms that we'll understand.
Well, I guess yes and no, because we don't assess the properties whether they're a 2-star, 3-star, 4-star, because in our particular membership base, we have the gamut. So we've got home-like settings that's small and they're comfortable, and we've got medium-range settings that, are a little bit larger and they've got a little bit more amenities, and then we have the really high-end settings that, are built in North Van and West Vancouver overlooking the whole ocean. So we've got the whole gamut, but we don't assess it from that perspective. We assess it, or our thought process of the assessment for the designation was that we just wanted to make sure that it didn't matter whether you were small or large, really high end or home like, that you had all the policies and procedures in place to ensure that you have the highest quality of standards and service for the seniors that live there.
And we're talking cleanliness, we're talking security, we're talking safety, that the staff is informed, educated, trained.
Yep. So the 5 is safety, infection control, staff training, resident services, and assisted living. So, and I'm sure both Tom and Lydia can tell you a little bit more about each section in a few minutes, but we actually put in a resident services because this isn't about us just going into Michelle's community and saying, hey, Michelle, show us what you do, how you do it, and let's see, if it's up to the highest of standards that's available, because if it's not, we've got some best practices we can help you with. But we also want to hear what the residents have to say about living there. So we talk to the residents and we look at their files and we make sure that all of the residents that live there, that there's a resident council, that there's everything there. So it's not just the community, it's the residents that live there. Are they happy, and are they being a productive, part of how that community runs? So it's a fairly intensive full-day process, which, again, I'm sure Lydia and Tom will tell you a little bit more about. And it's not mandatory right now, but we have a lot of our members that for various reasons are now coming forward and saying, you know what, I'm ready to do it.
We want this.
We want it. We want to show that we are the best. They use it as a marketing tool. They're very excited about getting it. Their residents know all about it. Their families know all about it. And it's just, it's almost like a prestige in the senior living community to say you have the seal of approval or that you're going to be getting it soon.
Well, it sounds great, and you've hired 2 independent contractors.
Yes, Tom was first when we first started the program, and he's been with us going on, as he said, almost 6 years. And as we get larger, and as we grow, and as we, update the living document of the assessment tool, we felt that there was a need to have a second assessor, because once we're hoping by 2016 we'll have all 156 buildings, and there's just, I'm sure, one person could do it full time, but then, who wants to work that hard in your retirement, which Tom is supposed to be retired. Unfortunately, I'm not sure he knows even how to spell the word, never mind what it means.
That's a good point.
Yeah. And so we have a second assessor. So Lydia just joined us about a couple of months ago, and so Tom trained her. And we're working through, getting the second assessor in, and it's nice to have a second pair of eyes looking at the document and going through the process as well, because down the road, then there'll be and we will eventually always have 2 assessors. doing the program.
So let's start with Lydia, because this is new for you, relatively new.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about the job, how it works, and maybe what a typical day is like for you.
Oh my goodness.
Okay. Where do we start? You have to do it in 30 seconds or less.
Yeah.
No, I'm teasing.
No, the BC Senior Living Association is very well organized and coordinated. They give each operator 2 months advance notice and lead prep time to prepare, to get all the documentation in order, to get copies of all their policies and procedures, to get all the sign-offs, and consent forms, because we don't just go in and say, okay, and boss people around. And
right, you're not like a private investigator that
no.
just shows up unannounced and says, I'm here to inspect your kitchen. I'm the health inspector. You're not like that.
No, and the one thing we really don't want to be perceived as is an internal auditor. We're not here to police. We're here to be a resource and to help you. If you're
working with them.
Exactly. So it is a long day. It can start at 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning, depending on travel time. And it's a laid out agenda of each section, what we need to cover, what we need to see. And we actually have to tour the building several times with the general manager or, the executive director, with maintenance, meet with the head of culinary or the executive chef to walk through the kitchen. If maintenance does housekeeping, go check that out with them as well. But it also has to be well synchronized and coordinated, because in a community, you can have so many things interrupt you. And one of the things that we have found is, in order to make sure that it flows, that there is dedicated time and advanced prep, it's all organized. One of the best practices is having a manual of every copy pertaining to the standards and the sections in the toolbook here, prepared and ready to go with all the backup resources on a big, trolley or something in the general manager's office.
Well, I'm actually glad you mentioned synchronizing your visit, because you don't want to interrupt the natural daily flow of a senior's residence.
No, we want to see activity. We want to, on one of our general tours, we want to check out not just that the hallways are clear and no fire hazards, but that if there's an activity going on and physical fitness going on, maybe participate and chat with the residents, to do a soft interview, if you will, of how they're enjoying living at that community. So we don't go in and act like we're interviewing and inspecting, but it's more of a conversation just to make sure everyone's happy and everything's being handled at just the highest level possible. But we break for lunch. We might have coffee, with residents, with other managers, and get both sides of the table contributing. Everybody needs to have a voice in the community. It's not just one entity controlling everything. And by the end of the day, everyone's exhausted, but it's also very fulfilling to know that you've walked away and yes, they've got their seal again for another 2 years. They're very proud of it. They can't wait to get their little stickers, and they show us where they have their plaque.
And Tom, you've been doing this for 6 years. Tell us a little bit about maybe some of the challenges that you might have run into over time.
Yeah,
or some of the highlights.
Yeah, I think one of the keys that we have in what we do is to be in touch with the site many weeks before we visit, and say, hi, how are you doing? How are you progressing? Do you need any help? And so to get these calls or emails either to Marlene or to myself, and we feel them before, so that we make sure that when we do arrive there, they're well prepared. And one of the highlights for me is the meet and greet at the beginning of the day, where we all sit around the table and the whole management team share who they are, what they do, where they came from, and you feel it's almost like family by the time you break for your first assessment. The thing that really takes most of my time during the day is the fire safety side of it. And I think this is a huge benefit to the public at large, families knowing that their loved ones are in a building that is safe. And so we spend a lot of time, sometimes an hour and a half, just going through fire safety. And then, of course, we get into food safety, infection control, and there's a huge safety aspect to what we do. going through maintenance. Why do we look at maintenance? From a safety point of view. Why do we look at resident services? Well, to see that they are kept safe, that they have good programs, that are activities, that exercise programs, again, so that they're safe. It is a joy at the end of the day as well to do a wrap-up, to say, hey, you know what? That lunch today was great. Thank you so much. I see you're full, and I saw you doing tours today. Great, you've got a waiting list now for occupancy, and then talking to the activities person and saying, you know, the residents are raving about your programs. And so we go around and able to say at the end of the day, you know, congratulations team, you know. We might have one or two things we're going to fine-tune with the general manager, but basically we're good. And
sounds great.
And you walk away then with that good feeling.
It sounds like you have picked two people extremely passionate about what they do. Marlene, it sounds a little bit competitive. I'm just wondering, why would a property not want that seal of approval?
Well, I don't think it's a question of them not wanting the seal of approval. A lot of BCSLA members maybe have a little bit of a campus of care. And when you have a campus of care, meaning you've got independent living, assisted living in either licensed care or residential care, you're required to have an accreditation program in the licensed or long-term care section. And accreditation is a very long and lengthy process. And so what's happened is we had actually 2 or 3 of our members that said, okay, I'm ready, I want to do the seal this year, and then phoned back a month later and said, oh, I've got Accreditation Canada coming in for my long-term care. I cannot put my staff through this twice in 1 year. So there's lots of different reasons of why they may or may not do the seal of approval. There might be some smaller communities that don't have written policies and procedures, but they operate their community great. The GM's been there 35 years. She knows what she's doing. Now the manual's available for them to buy. Once they can buy the manual and get their policies in place, I know they'll be coming and doing the seal now. So there's a couple of different factors of why some communities may not have done it. Because it's very, very affordable.
If you want more information about the seal of approval with the BC Seniors Living Association, you can find that online at www.bcsla.ca. And coming up next on Boomer Life, we'll have our guest Michelle Cunnington from Cavell Gardens talk firsthand about going through the program, the seal of approval program, how Cavell Gardens did.
Absolutely.
If you passed with flying colors.
We don't use pass or fail.
Oh, okay. There's no pass or fail. Okay. That's bad me. But that's all coming up next. Don't go away. This is Boomer Life on CL 650.
Celebrating the baby boomer lifestyle. This is Boomer Life on CL 650.